and welcome. You're listening to the Just Love Them podcast. I'm your host, Cherie Best. Join me on a journey to heal relationships and to find peace with those we love who have left the church. Today's guest is someone who sees what most people miss, especially when it comes to how we judge ourselves, how we carry pain, and how we can shift it. I'm thrilled to welcome Ann Washburn back to the show. Ann is a body language expert, personal transformation coach, and neuroscience trained identity mentor who's delivered over 10,000 presentations across the country. That's just a staggering number. Her TED Talk on body language and the subconscious has reached nearly 2 million viewers, and she's been featured in over 50 media outlets. Ann is best known for her powerful Break Free intensive class, where she helps people get unstuck by working with the body, the mind, and the deep emotional patterns we often don't realize are running our lives. She holds degrees and certifications in neuroscience, mechanical engineering, mental wellness, and body language. But her greatest joy right now? She just found out she's going to be a grandmother for the first time. In this episode, we are diving into the 7 things everyone experiences on earth, no matter their religion. Anne's going to show us how understanding these universal experiences can help us stop judging ourselves and others so harshly and start walking with more peace, purpose, and power. You're in for a beautiful conversation. Let's dive in. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you. It's so fun to be back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you back. And I'm so excited about this topic today. I always learn so much from you, and I'm very interested to see what these 7 things are and how they're going to help us.
When we were talking about having me back, this topic just kept coming up in my head because the thing that we're all have in common here is we all care about or know someone or are somebody who has left a religion, who's left a home, a place that a belief system, let's put it that way, and that they've left a belief system. And that causes us to be looking through a lens of what's different. So we're looking for what are the differences. And I thought, you know what we really need is to be able to know what the lens is that helps us see what the similarities are. What is it that we are all struggling with, no matter who you are, what country, what religion you are, no matter what language, what time frame. I mean, it doesn't matter if you were at the time of Christ or if you won't be on the planet till the next century. We all have certain things that we have in common that we go through on this planet. And I thought that would be a fun thing to talk about. So, what I do, I work with people every day, all week long, either in personal mentoring appointments or group mentoring appointments, or just when I'm out, like at the grocery store. I see people everywhere I go. There's not much shortage of people on the planet right now. As a body language expert and a behavior expert, I'm always watching people. I can't just shut that off. It would be nice to shut that off. But I see a lot of division among people. I see a lot where people are really willing to see something as a personal insult or affront, whether it's on social media or in line at the gas station, wherever it is, we're really sensitive to people pushing on us. And we want to feel something. We want to feel like people respect us or they include us. We don't want to feel like we are overlooked or that we're told that we're bad or that we're judged, or we don't want those things. We're very sensitive to that. And the thing is that when I teach people about confidence and authority and their presence, because I talk about body language and what does the room feel like when you walk into the room, that the thing that causes people to have the most confidence is actually their ability to not be sensitive to all that poking that happens out in the world. So when people to not be sensitive to criticism or judgment or just being somebody butting in line at wherever it is. If we're sensitive to those things, we actually have less confidence in the way that we hold ourselves and the way people perceive us. We are perceived with less authority. It's almost as if well, it's not even almost as if. As humans, we quickly will put people in a hierarchy around us. Like, who's the most important person in the room? Who's the least important? Or who's the weakest or the strongest or the neediest or the saddest? Or we put this little, we do this little hierarchy in our head no matter what room that we go in. And the problem is that causes us to be very self-conscious and even self-centric, which means that we think everyone is looking at us or everything that happens or is said means something about me. Now, the problem with this is it causes a lot of division, like I said, like I mentioned a minute ago. And we either see ourselves as somebody who is higher than someone and we need to reach out and help them, or we see them as somebody that's greater than us and we need to get them to like us. And we do a lot of social henpecking, I guess. We're trying to figure out what our status is in there. But what I see in that, when I watch all of that, is as I look for what are the reasons that people put these wedges between each other, or they become, I think I'll keep using that language, they're just stay sensitive to the pokes from other people, and what causes the people who don't seem to notice the poking, what's different? And really, what it is the people that have that confidence, they're able to see a bigger view. They're able to have like that 10,000-foot view where you can look down from the mountaintop and see the whole thing that's going on instead of being down in the trenches going, why is everybody being mean to me? That's where these seven things were born, is those people that are confident and not taking things personal. They understand what everybody's going through, that nobody gets out of this life without these seven things. And actually, I'll probably give you a bonus one at the end because I've added one to the list since then. But nobody gets out of life if they're living a life in a social environment, then they're not going to get out of these seven things. And a lot of these things, there's always exceptions to every rule, but most of these things, nobody goes through this life without these things. And so the first one on the list is opposition. Nobody gets off this planet without feeling opposition of some sort, because this is the planet of opposites. It's a planet of growth and entropy. Those are opposite things. We're on a planet where people are learning. They have light. We have darkness. We have hot, we have cold. We have all this opposite. Everybody is experiencing opposition, no matter who they are. We get to experience that as an opposite. We face contrast, we face loss, we face pressure, we face challenge. And how we label that will make a difference on whether we poke people with it or whether we see it as something to unify us. So if I am using opposition as a way to divide people, then I'm going to say, you're not the same as me, so you're bad. Or you aren't treating me the way I want to be treated, so you need to change. And so we use it as a way to poke people. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And it's really interesting. In fact, I was just reading in the scriptures. I can't find it. I mean, I don't know exactly where this is at, but it's like Second Nephi 2 or 1 or something. And Lehi is talking to his son Jacob. He's giving him like his last words before he dies. And he
Hmm.
talks about opposition. And it's actually quite deep how he talks about opposition in all things and that that's part of the plan. I was just fascinated as you started talking about this. That is actually the plan.
Yeah. So Second Nephi 2:11, you remember that
There you
because
go.
there's two teams on a football field and there's 11 players on each team. So that's how you remember that one.
I love that.
But yeah, opposition is part of the framework of the planet. So it doesn't matter what religion you are, you will find opposition. Now, the way you unify by understanding that is that when somebody pokes you, if you can first see that they also hurt, it's like the person that makes you bleed also bleeds. In other words, we're all this, we all look the same on the inside. We all have emotions that hurt. And so when we can recognize that the person that I'm viewing and judging a certain way, if I can remember they also are struggling, that can help me take the higher road and be more confident and not somebody who pokes back.
Hmm. You don't know what's inside of them. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what kind of a day they've had. You don't know what their experience is or why they're reacting the way they are. And I love that idea about taking the higher road because we're all struggling.
There's this trend on social media when somebody leaves the church. Not everybody, but some of them don't leave quietly. They leave very loud and they need to post it on social media. They're trying to convince other people. And when we can remember that they're feeling opposites inside of them. They're trying to figure out why I found these things that I don't agree with in the church and it's really striking me wrong. Aren't other people agreeing with me? Why is there a difference? We struggle with that difference, that space. And we're bad at letting there be a space where there can be difference, that it's okay to be on one side or the other and leave a space where we can try to have some understanding in between. And we're not really good at that. People get loud in their when they've left the church. That's what they're voicing is that I feel some conflict. Some of them are like, I want to save other people. If you knew what I knew, then you would do what I do. But that's not always true. This planet is not one of certainty. There's no certainty, but there is opposites. When I can let that mean that there's not just one perfect way to do things, let me explain it this way. Your nervous system, so having just gotten my neuroscience degree, I learned a lot about signaling in our body and our nervous system and how things work. Our nervous system is wired to want to repeat the emotions it's had in the past. It really wants to repeat. It doesn't care if it was a good experience, it just wants to repeat it. So even if I had bad emotions, I will catch myself repeating the same bad emotions over and over again. Let me give you an example. Last week, I had looked something up online and I'd saved it in a shopping cart because I wanted to buy it for my husband for Father's Day. I was really excited about it, but I just kept putting it off and it was on sale. And I'm like, what's wrong? Why don't I just buy this? And I kept coming up with excuses. I had all kinds of excuses and I just kept waiting. I kept waiting. And then over the weekend, I got an alert or an email that said, this item's sold out. And I was like, really? Why did I wait? What was my purpose? And then I noticed how I felt. If we can pause and look at how we feel in a certain moment, especially right after we say, oh, why does this keep happening? Or, oh, there that happened again. Or if I had a nickel for every time this happened, those kind of statements are telling us that there is a feeling in our nervous system that we're so used to that our subconscious is working to help us repeat that feeling. When I paused and looked at that, that feeling of missing out was exactly a feeling that I have felt so many times. And I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. I teach people this, and there's an emotion right there that I am used to feeling.
So are you saying that even though it's a negative emotion, missing out, nobody likes that feeling? Are you saying that subconsciously your brain was doing that so that you wouldn't buy that item so that you would have that experience?
Yeah, because I had
Wow.
no reason not to buy it. And I waited 3 days consciously. I was just like, oh no. Oh, I don't know. I don't know why I'm not buying it. I couldn't find any reason. And then
Mhm.
when I missed out on it, I was like, well, that emotion feels really familiar.
Interesting.
And we're not used to interrupting those feelings and trying something different. So personally, that happened over the weekend. And so yesterday, when I went to CrossFit, I had this chance to feel the opposite because I went to the gym and for some reason I had worn two heart rate monitors instead of one. You have no reason to wear two. There is just no reason to wear two because
Mhm.
it's the same heartbeat. But I had my wrist one and I have one that goes around your midsection. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do it. So I went and 20 minutes in, because Memorial Day is this crazy workout that we do once a year. It's over an hour long. So 20 minutes in, my watch dies. The battery died. And I went, oh, I have backup. And I went, wait a second. This is the opposite of feeling like I missed out. This was, and now I can label it. I did the right thing, or I took care of it, or I'm taken care of. And it was so foreign to me, I didn't even know how to say it because I was like, this is the opposite, though, of that feeling. And when we can find an opposite of that feeling that we're used to and sit in it for a minute and let it like expand inside of us, it gives us a chance to accept something new, which leads to the second of my seven that everybody gets to experience is agency. No matter who you are on this planet, you have to practice choosing. And one of the most powerful ways that we exercise agency or misuse agency, for that matter, is when it comes to what emotions am I choosing to let become familiar in me? Because I didn't even realize that I had this familiar emotion of missing out and that I kept repeating it over and over and over again. But your nervous system is set up that it will repeat what is familiar, not what is healthy, not what's good for your goals. Our nervous system isn't even wired to seek out truth, it's wired to seek out repetition.
Interesting. And why is that?
It's the natural man that's wired into us. The natural man is an enemy to God. The natural man really is our subconscious, and our whole nervous system is wired to be the opposite of God so that we can choose into the creation of power like God does. So I
Uh,
have to have something wired into me that's the opposite so that I can exercise my agency and choose that I'm going to slowly train my own self that I want the feeling of things work out instead of I miss out.
that is fantastic. And that actually makes so much sense. That opposition in all things, even from what's inside of ourselves.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, because people say that, and that's mostly a Church of Jesus Christ, a Latter-day Saints thing, the concept of a natural man. Because I've talked to other people that I mentor that come from other Christian religions, and that's a foreign concept to them. And so it's really cool that we get to understand that, but we need to understand it better. And part of it is that right in our wiring is opposition. We think somehow that opposition is outside of us. But opposition is part of it's woven into this planet, right down into our cells. We are wired with opposition, and we don't understand that. We don't give that the credit that it needs so that
Mhm.
we can understand everyone you interact with is dealing with opposition. Because I know growing up, I always thought opposition was just choosing against the commandments or against what I'm taught at church or something like that. And that when I leave church, I'm either choosing churchy stuff or I'm choosing other stuff. And that's what opposition is. That opposition, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah,
It's from,
absolutely.
comes from the adversary. But opposition comes right into our wiring. And we need that so that we can fully exercise agency. And so imagine if, and this is what I've dedicated the last 15 years of my life to, because this is so important to me. But imagine that we are working to exercise our agency so much that I'm training my own nervous system to want light instead of familiar.
Wow. That's a mind-blowing idea.
So it's so cool. It's so liberating when we realize that that's what we're doing is we've got to train our own nervous system. And so when people leave the church, to me, I don't feel any criticism. What I do is I look at them as they're on their own path of learning what feels good to their nervous system. That's what we teach at the end of the Book of Mormon, right? Moroni 10:4. And so in 10:4, we talk about seek out your own answer. Ask God if this is right. What is that saying, Sri, except for figure out how to help your nervous system know what light is. Teach it what good feels like. Because we all come down here and get, so now we talked about, I just found out that my daughter is going to have my first grandbaby. Now I get to tell people because she just did her gender reveal on social media, so I guess I can talk about it.
Super exciting.
I know. I'm super tickled, so tickled. But we all come down here and get raised by imperfect parents.
Hmm.
And I feel, I shouldn't say this because I haven't been a grandmother yet, but I feel more prepared to be a grandmother than I feel like maybe my mom was because I'm more ready to not need my kids to be perfect parents. I don't need them to be because I know that being able to come down here and get our own cup of opposition wired into us is okay because it's such a powerful, beautiful thing to be able to have some opposition to choose against and be able to teach my nervous system, I want light. This is what light feels like. See this nervous system? Because it's usually coupled with scary at the same time. And to me, that's what faith is light coupled with scary because we don't know. Faith is a belief in something that's not known, but we tend to think that that means it must not be scary because it's good or it's true. But I don't think it means that at all because your nervous system can't distinguish between scary and excited. They feel the same to your nervous system.
Really?
You label it that makes the difference.
Okay.
So to me, it's exciting that this little girl is going to get to come down to a family that wants her. And I keep a little and on my table because and is a powerful word. She's going to come down to a family that loves her and she's going to get programmed with negativity. It's just part of the program. I don't need her parents to be perfect. So I'm kind of excited to be a grandmother and not need her parents to be perfect. I'm sure there will be plenty of struggle, but it's exciting to understand that that opposition is baked in.
I just have to jump in and say something right here. I love that you're saying you don't need the parents to be perfect. Sometimes we don't give ourselves that same grace that we think that God expected us to be perfect parents, but God doesn't need us to be perfect parents either. And I think sometimes we beat ourselves up so much over that. In fact, I was just having a conversation with somebody who actually, had some suicidal thoughts when they would go to this place of, oh, I did this wrong and I did that wrong and I wasn't perfect with raising my children this way and I made this mistake. She felt like she had to be perfect, like God expected her to be a perfect parent. That's not even possible. Even if
Yeah.
you've had experience, it's not possible. And none of us have had experience before we are a parent. I really am latching on to this idea that God doesn't need us to be perfect parents, and we don't need our children to be perfect either.
Yeah. And if I could talk to that lady, yeah, I would love to just help her with that because that goes with point 4 on the list, but we're only on 3. So let me just tell you 3 really quick. 3 is that we all get to experience separation. We experience aloneness. Aloneness is part of our experience, and every person you ever meet on this planet has felt alone. Every single one, because heaven is a very connected place, and earth is the opposite. It's a very alone. So everyone has felt alone. And then to get to point 4, is that everyone on this planet has to choose into themselves. And that's the thing that's really hard to do because we think that we can only be chosen if we're perfect. And that goes back to my misunderstandings at church that I talk about. Because perfection is not only not part of earth, it's not supposed to be part of earth. I've been doing a lot of writing about perfection lately. I think we've got it mislabeled a lot, but that'll be for another conversation. I think perfection is more about being willing to grow than it is a place that you arrive. That's why I did an audiobook called Perfection is a Direction You Head, Not a Destination You Arrive at. But the point there being that every person on this planet is having to choose themselves. And they have to choose themselves in 3 different ways. You have to choose into your own body because we're not on a planet of body snatchers, so we can't change bodies with anybody. And our body is imperfect and we love to compare. So, just like I talked about, we'll walk into a room and we'll compare ourselves. Oh, I think they weigh more than us, me, and they weigh less than me. And I'm going to judge both of them for different reasons. And my favorite is we get up in the morning and we let this little flat thing on the floor tell us what kind of day we get to have. Because we step on it, and if the number's a good number, then I can have a good day. But if the number's a bad number, I have to beat myself up all day. I have to choose into my body. And that's a really hard thing to do because
It
we're like,
is.
no, I won't choose it until it looks a certain way. We said it this way in my group coaching that your body was designed for you after the needs of your spirit.
That's a fascinating concept.
Yes. In
That
other
is,
words, if you believe that you came to a planet to grow in some way, I really believe that we had some input on how we wanted to grow, on what we wanted our spirit to get to experience down here, and that our body was chosen for us or made for us according to the needs of that growth that I wanted to have. And so part of what I get to do on this planet, which is super hard, is choose that I'm okay as my body. That this body, no matter what it looks like, is the vehicle for me experiencing this planet. If I'm lumpy or too small or too short or too tall or too big a feet or my legs don't work or my blood sugar doesn't work or whatever, it's still my vehicle. There's parts about me that I'm like, I was trained very well by my mom to disaccept. What's the opposite of accept? Reject.
yeah,
Re-
reject.
Reject my body. Reject it into compliance. That's what I was taught. Reject your body until it does what you want it to do. My mom weighed 380 pounds most of my life, and she was always on a diet. And she always got up at 4:30 every morning and exercised, and she still weighed that much. But part of the problem was her nervous system was looking for the feelings that she was used to. She was used to the fight and the rejection that she had towards herself. I hadn't learned enough of this yet before she died of cancer. I taught her some other things, but I hadn't learned these words for it yet to be able to help her understand that one of the things we get to all do on this planet is choose into ourselves, our imperfect self. Because you know who already chose us? God. Imperfectly, he chose us. And the way he chose us was he said, you don't have to be perfect because you plus the atonement equal perfect. Never is it you by yourself equals perfect. That is never the plan. It was never the plan. So, me plus the atonement equals I'm actually okay. I actually have permission to choose who I am and be okay with it. We have so many ideas that we make up in our heads. But we get these ideas that I have to reject myself into compliance of who I want me to be.
Hmm. That friend that I was telling you about that I was talking to that was beating herself up so badly that she almost didn't want to be on the planet, that concept was missing.
Hmm.
She's actually okay. You plus the atonement equals that you're actually okay. That is what makes all the difference between it's never going to be okay. I'm never going to be enough. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be good enough. It makes the difference between that and everything is okay. Everything is as it should be.
And we struggle with that statement right there that everything is as it should be, because then we're like, oh, but you need to repent and you need to forgive and you need to, it's like, well, how can everything be as it should be if you need to do all that?
Because that's part of what you were talking about with the learning and the agency and the choosing into yourself. Like it's all part of the program. That's why it's as it should be. We come here to learn. Our bodies are the way they are to help us become who we're supposed to be. And so even if you have cancer, that's a scary thing to say, that it's
Well,
as
yeah,
it should
if you
be.
have cancer, if you have abuse, if you have a disability, if you have whatever, we have all kinds of things that we like to say, but this is different circumstances.
Yes.
Well, what is it? What if instead of it's different circumstances, it's just different levels of courage that we chose that we wanted to get to have to exercise into choosing ourselves? Because if you study people who go through near-death experiences or debilitating illnesses or things like that, when they get to enough pain, they cross over into a place that it's like, and it's okay. And we don't allow ourselves to do that. And so I think it's more it's an act of courage that we're learning to be able to accept ourselves as ourselves today. Maybe you'll do something for your future self that'll be nice for them. Like maybe you'll eat more vegetables today because your tomorrow self will feel better. But we keep trying to force our body to be what we wanted it to be yesterday instead of accepting it for what it is today and go, you know what, body? In fact, today I'm a little sore because I did that workout yesterday and you know what? I can accept myself sore that today is that experience. It's all just an experience. We let it mean too much about ourselves. In psychology, we have a whole bunch of biases that we talk about in psychology. One of the biases we have, I call it a self-criticism bias. This isn't the term they taught me in school, but I call it this because I think it fits really well. But that self-criticism bias is because we're trying to control ourselves into something instead of allow ourselves to be who we are and then move towards something else if we want to. So we could talk about this forever.
We could.
I obviously am passionate about it just a touch. But, but let me just finish really quick here on number four that when we've got to accept ourselves as our body, we also need to learn to accept ourselves as our mind. We sometimes get the idea that our mind is who we are and that what it says, I have to listen to. But actually, the mind is connected to the natural man and it's trying to tempt us a different direction. We need to approach our mind with more curiosity and teach our mind to be our friend instead of our bully. Because most people walk around with a mind that is their bully. And if you
Mhm.
can realize that, and that when you're at the grocery store, everybody you're passing has mean thoughts going through their head about themselves. If we could see what was going on in people's heads, we would be so much nicer to them. We
Oh.
would be so much nicer. As a body language expert, it's sometimes really hard for me to go to the store and I'm just like, oh, ow, I feel I can see how that person hurts and I can see how that person's hurting that person and I can see, oh, I just want to do little seminars in every aisle and teach them about their thoughts because we think that the bully in our head has some authority over us. But it doesn't. It really doesn't. But so we have to approach it with curiosity and be able to say things like, I liked this one, being able to say in our own mind, this mind is mine, but it's not always right. I thank it for trying to protect me, and now I teach it something new. I am growing, I am safe, I am enough. We don't choose into our own mind. We
Hmm.
think that gets to be mean to me. So I need to choose into myself. That's one of the things that everybody on this planet has to do, no matter what religion, is they have to get past that bully in their head and choose into themselves.
Yeah. You're approaching that from a very introspective place. Like we have to do that for ourselves and at the same time give others the grace to do the same. So if you have a loved one who's leaving the church or who has left the church, realize that they are in the same process. Their mind is doing the same thing. And to give each other that grace that you talked about, be nice because you have no idea what's going on in their head that they're working through as they're learning to choose themselves.
I don't know if I've ever shared this somewhere, but when I was first starting to learn about myself, I had a couple of really profound spiritual experiences. And one of these spiritual experiences, for just a couple of days, and I don't know why I was given this gift. I think it's it was like a temporary gift of discernment that went outside of myself. I could feel what people around me were feeling. I mean, not just like an empathic way, but I mean, I like could feel exactly what they were feeling.
Wow.
I don't remember exactly what had happened right before this that I could do that, but I remember I walked into a Walmart. As I was walking down the aisles, I could feel the pain in every single person I was passing. And I walked down just a few aisles and I actually left my cart and I ran out of the store in my car and I just bawled.
Oh,
And I was like, "Oh my goodness. I had no idea how much people hurt." And I guess I was just given that so that I could understand how important it was for me to choose into me. Because at that point in my life, I can totally understand your friend that had suicidal thoughts because I've definitely been there. I even spent a weekend in a intervention facility because it was real. It was really real. It's not even that you're not choosing into yourself or your perfection. It gets to the point of, I just don't want to hurt anymore. I just can't deal. For me, it was, I can't deal with the pain I've caused other people. And so I think part of the reason I had that experience of feeling everyone's pain was to be shown that that is part of what we're choosing out of. It only stays around because we give it a key to the door,
Hmm.
because we allow it to be there. So the bully in our head and our rejection of ourself and our ownership of the pain we've caused other people. Because really, I kind of skipped it on number 4 on choosing into yourself. We actually have to choose into ourself at a spirit level as well. And that's a little trickier because it's hard for us to differentiate between spirit and body. It just feels like one. It's just I am.
Hmm.
But they're not the same. They're separate. And choosing into spirit has to do with the atonement. It has to do with completely choosing in. This goes back to our agency. I have to choose in that the atonement applies to me. And it applies to the pain I've caused others as much as it applies to the pain I feel. And that was the hardest thing for me, was to choose that the atonement applied to the pain I caused others, because I don't want to cause other people pain. I don't like that I've caused my kids pain that I didn't intend. I don't like that I cause strangers pain and I didn't know it before I started learning how I work and what I need to do. I didn't know that. I don't like that. But it's in that pain where I've got the biggest opportunity for choice of the atonement, because the atonement applies to the pain I've caused others. And so, our number 5 here is that change is something that we all have to experience and a forward timeline. I haven't met anybody that's living life backwards. They're not like Mork and Mindy. Remember that when we were
Yes.
it's not like we're born at 80 and we get younger. We all live a forward timeline.
Yeah.
And that means that we all experience a lot of change, a lot of change. And so what we're being taught is to choose into self in imperfection, not wait for perfection, then choose into self. We can be taught to choose into ourselves in perfection in heaven. That is not that'll last way longer than this little experience. But down here, I'm being given the gift of being able to choose things in the middle of imperfection. And we don't value imperfection enough. We don't.
No. In
We
fact,
don't.
we despise it.
And we shouldn't.
No.
Because it's the reason Christ died, was so that I could experience imperfection. That's the whole purpose of the atonement, was to make it so I could be imperfect and go back to heaven. And we don't give it that credit, Shri. We think, oh yeah, the atonement's nice when I accidentally mess up. No, it's because we need to be able to treasure the opportunity to experience a failure, to experience choosing into ourselves in imperfection, to be able to go through change and see more wrinkles on our face every morning and still choose in. Like, hey, face, I choose you with that new wrinkle. Good job. Okay, let's go have this experience today. We don't treasure imperfection enough. And we need to. When our friends or family members or even ourselves question things about the church and we try to clamp down on it, like, no, 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 that can't happen. Because I've had kids that have come to me and gone, I have questions and I'm worried you're going to hate me for it. And I'm like, no, not me. I love that you have questions and I know that you live on a forward timeline. I have a brother-in-law that came to me. I have all these people that have come to me and talked to me about their questions and they worry about what I'll think about it. And I'm like, no, I'm the last one that you got to worry about, because I understand that as a forward timeline, you're not done yet. You're not. So you get to go learn however you are going to learn. I'm not going to force somebody to learn on a certain path, because God created 8 billion different paths. In fact, I was reading in my journal just this morning that I was writing that God is weaving a tapestry with threads. We're all an individual thread and we're all in flux. And He's the only one that can weave a tapestry out of threads that keep changing, because He knows how we'll end up. Just because we don't doesn't mean we're not a thread in His tapestry, because He knows where we'll end up and how we fit and how we'll look and what color we'll be and how vibrant we'll be. And so we don't have to judge people. We don't have to. Let's embrace imperfection more. so we can have the real experience that Christ died for. Because what if it's not Christ was the only one that could be perfect? What if he was the only one that had to be perfect so the rest of us could experience imperfection?
Ooh, that is a powerful thought.
And I don't think we give it enough credit.
Yeah.
That forward timeline. Oh my gosh, Sheree, what if we just were able to say, my imperfection, my failures, my mistakes, the pains are all a gift. That it totally changes the lens that I look at everything through. I don't see people the same way I did before. I don't go into Walmart and feel everything they felt like I did, but I don't forget that. But I no longer have a need to save them from it. Instead, I want to be a lighthouse, not a lifeboat.
And that feels so different when you say that. It feels so different. Instead of that uptight chested feeling, it feels almost like you can just relax and take a deep breath. Like it's okay. You have permission
Yeah.
to move forward in your imperfectness. That just feels so different to me.
Oh, yeah. When I quit, when started realizing that I'm trying to get to this point where I'm not making mistakes, I'm like, I'm going to miss the purpose of the planet. I came down here to experience making mistakes. I will go experience not making mistakes after this life. I'm going to experience my mistakes. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and be a vandal and cause wars,
No.
but it means I'm going to give myself a break.
Yeah.
And we are bad at that. We
We're
don't
terrible at that.
And because of that, we're terrible at giving others a break.
Yes, we are.
Number six is letting go. We all have to let go. There is no getting around of letting go. We let go of relationships. We let go of family members. We let go at death. We let go of our mistakes. We let go of past programs that aren't serving us. We upgrade to new ways of looking at things. It's okay if today I let go of the idea that I am only acceptable when I'm perfect. That's actually okay. I can let go of that. I get to let go of clutter. This is why I did a whole clutter busting group online. My family lineage is not what people would probably guess. My family lineage is hoarders that they actually, when my grandpa died, they had to bring in a bulldozer because they couldn't figure out what room was what in the house. My family lineage is people who have left their families, left their kids, left their spouses, left their countries. My dad was raised in foster care and on the streets, and my mom was raised in abuse. And then, if we want to talk religion, I have ancestors from so many religions. The only one that even approached the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was I had a great grandfather that was a member of the reorganized LDS Church. Very sorted background. And I feel like that's one of the gifts I was given was these sorted family lines all came and converged in me so that I could make this list right here and understand that we're all going through this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I have atheists, I have Christians, I have not, I have Buddhists, I have all kinds of family lineage. I also have, you can't tell from me, but if you look at my brother, one of my great grandmothers is an Indian, and my brother looks exactly like an Indian, and then I look like this, and
You're
people,
blonde and blue-eyed, right?
oh, I'm Scandinavian, and my brother looks like he doesn't grow a beard. He looks just like an Indian tribe, a Native American Indian tribe. So, I mean, my family lineage is very diverse, and I think it all came to me as a gift. And I got this body to house this spirit that wanted this experience. Now, that's a hard thing for people to hear because they're like, well, what about all the lists we made earlier, right? What about the abuse or the cancer or the diseases or the disabilities or the right? All the things that we label as bad. It's like, yes, and they are experiences. And can I ask, can I be curious? Can I be curious and ask questions like, what am I afraid is true about me? That's a question, if we would ask ourselves that more, and ask what else could be true or what action am I avoiding. These are some of my curiosity questions that I ask because we're not curious enough. We're too wrapped up in the idea that everything means something about me instead of, well, what am I actually afraid of? What am I repeating? My group coaching, their homework this week, they have to make this list. They have to go make a list of negative emotions that they're addicted to. In other words, what repeats over and over? Well, this always happens, or not this again, or why does this keep happening? So, like my story that I had, missing out on buying the thing for my husband. I'm totally addicted to missing out. And I didn't, until I realized that, I couldn't do anything about it. So, the first step into being able to have a better experience is accepting that we're all the same in these seven and one bonus area, and that I can choose me, and that imperfection is a gift that I have on this planet to experience, and I can only experience it because of Christ. And that Christ can be the one who even makes up for the pain I've caused other people.
Yes.
And that's so powerful. Because
So powerful.
number seven on the list is mistakes. I think we've covered that. We're
Yes.
all here to make mistakes. And the bonus one I added is we're also down here to experience resistance, that there is resistance to good things, that there is resistance to what I want, and that resistance can teach me. And it's a little nuance different than opposition in that there's a time delay. When I decide to make a difference, when I decide to change a behavior, there's a time delay before I get to see the results of that. And sometimes there's a time delay of a generation. But the people around us, when we can upgrade ourselves, when we can do even one little tiny piece, maybe you guys that are listening, you go look in the mirror today and look yourself actually in the eyeballs, because we usually look at ourselves everywhere but in our eyeballs. And just look in there, look in your eyes and go, who's in there? Oh, wow. What do they feel like? And feel yourself and see yourself instead of drawing the curtain behind your eyes or avoiding your eyes. Look in there and go, you know what? I choose you. I choose you. In all the messiness, I choose you. And let's just keep growing together because that's what we're here for. We're all walking through the same emotional curriculum on this planet. That's what we're all doing. Understanding this doesn't erase our differences, but it does help us have more room for empathy and softness and deeper connection when we can realize it's not as all cut and dried as we try to make it out to be in our heads. That people are all hurting, people are all suffering, and people are all fighting to accept themselves and to be able to become the thread that God knows they're going to be at the end of their life that
Mhm.
fits into his tapestry. I just can't wait to go to heaven and see the tapestry God's weaving out of all of our lives. And it's much bigger than any of us can understand,
And much more beautiful.
much more beautiful. But the part I can do is choose me, choose my experiences, the past ones. I've hurt people. Oh man, I'll just sit and bawl if I talk about all the ways I've hurt people unintentionally, and
Mhm.
I'm not even a mean person, and I've hurt people, and that's okay. And I need to let the atonement apply for that. And I need to choose me, even though I don't look the way physically I want to look today, I can still choose me and say, all right, let's go have some experience today. Because whatever it is, it'll be imperfect and worth it.
So beautiful. Oh my goodness, Anne. This episode is just an answer to prayer for me. It's so eye-opening. Your seven things in your bonus are so amazing. I loved how you made it so that everybody on the planet, regardless of your religion or anything else, we all have to experience all of these and learn from all of these. And it's such a gift to be able to talk about it on this deep of a level and to put into words things that I've never really considered, but as soon as you said them, they felt exactly like truths. I just had never been able to put words to them before. This has just been a beautiful conversation. I'm so grateful you were willing to come on and share it.
Well, thank you for being a place that I could talk deeper than I get to in other places. I'm grateful.
I would love to have you back again. I know I have like a little running list of things I want you to come on and talk about. And as I have you as a guest, my list gets longer, not shorter.
I love
So,
it.
yeah. So thank you so much for all you've shared today. I feel like it's not just an answer for me, but it's an answer for a lot of people. So thank you. And for my listeners, there is so much support here for you. In addition to this podcast, where we seek to bring you the best people, the best stories, and the best information, you also have access to the Just Love Them Facebook group. It's a place where you can link arms, share your story, get support from others who are going through the same thing. You can also message me on Facebook. You can sign up for a free mini session. I will put something in the show notes for you to connect with Ann if you would like to know more about what Ann teaches and her Break Free Intensive.
We're doing it for the first time in person since 2019 in July. So I'm pretty excited about that. So if you want to see real people in real life again, connect with people who actually want to do all these things that I just talked about. They want to get past their own resistance. They want to choose into themselves. They want to be able to judge less and criticize less and accept more and be a place. This is what my mom taught me, be a place of love and acceptance where people feel safe to try new things, to learn, to grow. That's our ultimate goal to me is that if we can all be little bubbles of love and acceptance, then we all bloop into one big bubble. And that's what makes us all one family in God,
Yeah.
is the ability to bloop positive energy into one big bloop.
Fun. That's a fun way to say it. For my listeners, if you have found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who is looking for peace and understanding. And please join me again next time for another episode of Just Love Them.